After 10 years of trading supply and demand, here are my top 3 setups. One of them I have never talked about here before. I'm going to bring you through each one of them. Okay, and at the end, I'm actually going to share with you 4th setup that I am currently working on in a testing phase. We are going to go through 10 of these trade reviews, and I'm going to walk you through step by step what these 3 setups are so that you can become a profitable trader. This is going to work for all markets and all time frame sequences. In fact, I'm going to show you a picture right now of the time frame sequences that you can use depending on what market and what type of trader you are. I appreciate if you guys like the video, subscribe, and if you have any questions, reach out to me down below in the comments and ask the questions, or you can reach out to me on social media at MoneyballAustin. Let's get into it. So the first setup is going to be the multiple time frame confirmation setup. Now, before we dive down into these trade reviews, I have to explain to you what this is. Now, what multiple time frame confirmation is going to be is when prices come back into an area of higher time frame supply or demand. So in this case, if we have a higher time frame supply zone up here, what we are going to do, we don't just sell straight up into it when prices come back. Once prices come back into this area of interest of higher time frame supply, we have to wait for change of character to occur. It's going to be these 3 things, and every single trade setup that I take that you are going to see has all of these 3 things in common. Okay, the first thing, it's going to be a strong imbalance. Okay, every zone you see on the chart is going to have a very strong imbalance. We will talk about that. Number 2, it's going to break upward momentum lines, trend lines. Okay, so we're going to see BML, breaking momentum lines. And number 3, every setup is going to have a remove a pivot point zone. We're going to go RP, remove the opposing pivot point zone. So this is what I'm waiting for. This could be higher time frame resistance, support and resistance. It could be higher time frame supply or demand. It could be a higher time frame bullish or bearish chart pattern that you're looking to get long or short in. You could be playing a sideways range. It doesn't matter, okay? But we need price inside a higher time frame zone. And what we are going to see on a smaller time frame, we need to see price turning from inside out. So when prices come back into these areas of interest, we need to see break of structure, which is going to be breaking momentum lines and removing these opposing pivot point zones. Once again, number 2, breaking momentum line. Number 3, removing the opposing pivot point zone. And most importantly, like I said, number 1, this imbalance here, this strong imbalance that you see here needs to accomplish a strong 2-to-1 imbalance. Once price does all of these 3 things, we then wait for the price to pull back and then we get short. Okay, that is going to be the multiple time frame confirmation trade setup. But you are going to notice every setup is going to accomplish these 3 things. Okay, we need to have a strong imbalance, breaking momentum line, and removing the opposing zone. In fact, this is going to be the common thing throughout the entire setup. Okay, so if we look at some of these trade reviews, okay, what do? We first thing, we start off on our higher time frame. Okay, we start off by drawing out our higher time frame supply and demand zones. Here we had a very strong daily demand zone. Prices are coming back into this area of demand, so I want to look for buying opportunities. Prices then come back down on a lower time frame, and this is what it looked like. All right, we got lower low, lower high. Let's go like this: lower low, lower high, lower low, and look at this, very strong move to the upside. Notice how quick the confirmation, this pivot point is being removed. This momentum line is being blown through with these candlesticks. All right, notice the imbalance to the upside. Let me remove this so that you guys can see that. Okay, notice how that is happening very rapidly. It's happening 3, maximum 4 candlesticks. It's not taking 10 candlesticks. It's not taking 12 candlesticks. It's accomplishing all of this stuff within 3 candlesticks. Once prices come back in here, that's when we enter our buy setup. Let's move on to a sell position, okay? So on this one, this is silver. All right, we start off looking at areas of interest. Where do we want to be looking for buying or selling opportunities? We have prices pulling back into this area of supply. What do you notice about this area of supply, guys? Very strong imbalance within the first 1 to 3 candlesticks. It's gone over 2-to-1. Not only that, it's blown through this area of demand. It's a very strong imbalance. If and when prices return back into this area, I want to be looking for selling opportunities. So prices came back up into this area, and this was our supply zone that we were selling. Once again, though, we are going to have to see higher highs, higher lows, strong momentum break, opposing pivot point zones being removed, and a rally base drop pattern created up there. Once again, look, pivot point removed, momentum line being broken. Look at this very strong imbalance right there, all right? That's what I need to see. Notice how it's not taking 8 candlesticks, 10 candlesticks. This was all accomplished within 3 to 4 candlesticks, right? That's what I want to see. You might be asking yourself, well, what about this area, all right? Did this area that you would sell the pullback into, did it accomplish all 3? Did it remove an opposing pivot? That's not even a pivot point zone. So no, it didn't. Okay, these pivot points are going to be peaks and valleys. All right, that's what I'm waiting for. All right, so I need to see, that's the same 3 things. Let's look at another trade review. All right, in this case, we were looking at oil. This wasn't even demand. I was using support and resistance. So here we clearly saw just buyers holding the bottom of the range down here. All right, and this was probably previous demand and support. I said it right here. Prices reacting off of 24-hour lows, support, and demand. Looking for longs with confirmation, right? Because we never just buy these areas straight up. We have to wait for evidence of buyers or sellers to come in. Prices came down on my lower time frame, the 1 minute, and the same thing here, right? What are we going to see? You're going to see lower lows and lower highs, all right? Notice how this pivot point, this momentum line, the 2 to 1 imbalance, it's all accomplished within 3 candlesticks. 1, 2, 3. We broke it with this 4th one, okay? Notice how I'm not taking setups that look like this though, okay? They're not looking like that. This zone is accomplishing everything within the first 3 to 4 candlesticks. You got to remember, we're supply and demand traders. We're looking for strong imbalances, so that's what we need to be doing, okay? We buy the pullback back here. Looks like this one was a stop out, but that's okay. You're going to have losing trades, ladies and gentlemen. That is the multiple time frame confirmation setup. Now, we then created something called the 1 time frame setup. Now, the 1 time frame setup was created by traders that I work with privately in the Moneyball trading program. They came to me and they said, I'm not getting many trade setups. I see a lot of really good lower time frame zones, but it's not inside a higher time frame zone or confluence with a higher time frame zone, right? There's no higher time frame bias to why we want to look for buys or sells, but there's just a really good zone that I want to trade. So we took that to the testing board and we started back testing this idea. Well, we said, well, what if we trade straight up just 1 time frame, the same thing that I was explaining on the lower time frame, but we don't need price inside higher time frame zone. So in this case, with this one, you notice how we needed price to come back into us. Well, in this case, the 1 time frame setup, we don't need price inside the higher time frame zone, but we need to make sure, this is very important, we need to make sure that we are trading with the higher time frame trend direction. So if I see my higher time frame in an uptrend, I only want to be looking for buying opportunities. I am not selling. If I see the market just trailing, going up like this, like the stock market, or I don't know, many other markets that are just trending to the upside, I do not want to just straight up sell into supply zones. Instead, I will look for just 1 time frame buy setups because I understand the higher time frame trend is in an uptrend, and I will look for 1 time frame buy setups that still accomplish everything that we mentioned on the multiple time frame setup. So that you see over here, the 2 to 1 breaking momentum line, removing the opposing pivot point zone, the same thing here needs to apply. We need to break that downward momentum line. We need to remove the opposing pivot point zone, and we need a strong imbalance, right? So that's the exact same setup, all right? I'm going to share with you 2 or 3 trade reviews. So let's look at this one. So in this one, I attached my higher time frame. So this was gold 15 minute. I went to my 15 minute. I noticed, hey, we're just very obvious, higher highs, higher lows. We're blowing through supply zones. We're creating pivot points to the upside. We're in an uptrend by my eyes. All right. So I can look for one time frame buy setups because I'm trading in an uptrend. Okay. So I go down to my lower time frame. In this case, this was a really smaller time frame, but it's the same approach. I'm in an uptrend on the higher time frame. I want to be looking for buying opportunities. I'm going to see the same thing. Lower low, lower high, lower low, lower high. Boom. Gigantic move to the upside, ladies and gentlemen. This is the demand zone that you would be buying back into, all right? But it's the same approach. Notice how we have this lower low, lower high, very strong imbalance. This imbalance, 1, 2, 3, 4, within 4 candlesticks, it's blown through this pivot point, it's broken that downward trend line, and a very strong imbalance to the upside. Once again, that would be deemed a good setup. We would buy the setup once prices come back into that area, okay? Let's flip to the sell side. On this one, the S&P, I do not have the higher time frame with me on this chart, but I will only look for one time frame setups as long as I'm trading with the higher time frame trend, of course, right? So the S&P probably on a 15-minute, 30-minute was trending to the downside for this week. And so I looked at it and said, okay, well, for this day, I want to look for one time frame selling opportunities because I believe prices are going to go a lot lower. It looks like just based off of what we can see here, it's been selling off quite rapidly, right? So I want to try getting short, okay? So that's exactly what I did. We have the lower low, lower high. Actually, here might be a little buy confirmation down in there. Once again, break that downward momentum, remove that pivot point zone. Cool. But hey, I'm not taking it. I didn't take that. All right, because I'm trading counter trend. I don't want to be looking for buying opportunities. I want to be looking for selling opportunities. So in this case, we have the lower low, lower high. Once again, I am going to get higher high, higher low. Boom. Same thing. Downtrend, higher time frame. Lower time frame is pretty downtrend as well. And we got this little short term, higher high, higher low. Very strong move to the downside. That is my supply zone right here. All right. That would be the one time frame setup, but it's important that we trade with the trend. Okay, let's talk about our third setup. All right, the third setup is, once again, was created by people in the program coming to me saying, okay, I see prices inside a higher time frame zone, but prices did not manage to pull back into my original setup. So if we look back here, sometimes, let me actually redraw this. Sometimes what we will get is prices going back into our higher time frame zone, and we'll get the confirmation, but we don't get the pullback. Instead, it does like a slight pullback and continues down, right? We might have had our entry right up there. It didn't pull back. So before, we were just scratching the trade saying, oh, okay, well, it's done. Okay, whatever. Now that we've started pulling out the testing results and been getting good results, as long as this is still a quality zone, we can still trade that zone as a pullback. It's going to be lower quality than trading at this higher zone, but we can continue to sell this thing if prices pull back and get short. That is the confirmation 2.0 setup. Let me share with you an example. So in this case, gold, here, prices came back into this little 1 hour rally-based rally demand zone. Higher time frame, very strong and balanced, gone over 2 to 1. It's a rally-based rally demand zone. I want to look for buying opportunities if and when prices come back into my zone. So prices come back into my zone. I don't have it journaled here, but it's going to be coming back into my zone. What do we have? Prices going into a higher time frame zone. We're going to have lower lows, lower highs, lower lows, lower highs, right? I need to see, once again, the confirmation, right? Where this might be the confirmation 1 setup down in here. We never got the pullback down into this area, right? Prices came here, but it continued to rally off, right? This is, like I said, people were coming to me saying the confirmation setup was there, but we didn't get the pullback. Can we continue to buy this in the movement of where prices are going? Because now you got to think like, okay, prices are in higher time frame demand. It's going to go from downtrend to sideways, and we want to see this thing turn, right? There's going to be this transition period, which is going to be breaking momentum lines, change of character, removing the opposing pivot point zones, strong imbalances, right? And if we were going to see it continue to the upside, well then why can't we get long if we didn't get the first pullback, right? So that's what it is here, okay? This would be the demand zone. That is going to be the confirmation 2.0 setup. So if we look at this setup, in this case we had gold, price pulling back into 15-minute supply, right? Over here, prices came back here and over here. So we're looking for selling opportunities, okay? This is probably pretty aggressive because I'm selling in an uptrend, all right? I clearly didn't mind that. We had prices going up. We were starting to transition, going to a downtrend, lower lows and lower highs. We had this short term, right? Higher high, higher low, boom, strong imbalance. Once again, boom, there is my zone. I sell the pullback back into that supply zone, all right? Trying to get short, hoping prices continue down. That's what I need to see. You might have also had maybe some type of confirmation here, maybe in here as well, that I could see people trying to sell back into, but that's really it. All right, let's look at one more so that you guys can understand it. Gold, price pulling back into higher time frame demand, looking for buying opportunities. All right, here was, I think we all looked at losers for the confirmation 2.0. But confirmation, prices going back into it, lower low, lower high, lower low, lower high, strong imbalance. You might have had the confirmation one setup right here, right? But maybe we didn't get the pullback. Maybe that was it. That's probably why I didn't get long in there. But prices, notice how after we got that confirmation, prices continued to make that new high, right? Breaking above it, actually remove this zone. We've broken that downward momentum line. Very strong imbalance to the upside, gone over 2 to 1. All right, buy the pullback back into that zone, okay, with maybe a structure stop loss. And then you kind of, I guess this was a losing trade, but hey, that's how it goes sometimes. Quick recap before we get into the bonus tab of a setup that I've been testing lately, and I'll show it to you about why we are considering adding this into my new setup. So multiple time frame confirmation, price pulling it back into higher time frame supply. This is what I need, right? Higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low, strong and balanced. That is my confirmation, right? I even say it here. Price needs to be inside higher time frame supply. Price needs to break lower time frame momentum. Price needs to remove the opposing pivot point zone, and we need a strong quality zone being created. That is the multiple time frame confirmation. The one time frame setup is when you don't have price inside a higher time frame zone, but you must trade with the higher time frame trend. So we need to be able to identify the higher time frame trend direction and trade with it. All right, so once we determine we're in an uptrend or downtrend, we then need to go based off of that and then trade in that trend direction. All right, so we use our lower time frame for our entry, but it's the same thing. All right, we need to see higher high, higher low, pivot point removed, breaking structure, strong quality zone being created. We sell the pullback back into that supply zone. The confirmation 2.0, like I explained, if you have price inside higher time frame zone, we lower low, lower high, lower low. Maybe we had the confirmation set up right there, but we didn't get the pullback. Instead, prices continue to push in that upward direction, usually in a drop-based rally pattern, right? That is the confirmation 2.0 setup where you get long, okay? And you hope that the trade goes in your direction. I actually explained those setups extremely well. Now I want to share with you the idea that we've been testing. I'm still collecting the trades to figure out what the data was on gold. Some people were looking at this the other day, and what I noticed was when prices were coming back up, it came up, tested the zone, good zone, okay? It sold off. It's now touching this zone, which rallied up, went deeper into the zone, and now pulling back into this area. Well, I know now, based off of 10 years of experience, it's probably going to get blown through now. A lot of buyers, the sellers, are not able to take control and make new lows based off of this reaction. These pivot points are holding. In fact, prices are going deeper into these zones. So I know if it's going in for that third test, it's very weak, okay? So I was sitting here debating like, should I trade the breakout or should I trade the breakout retest? Broke above it and pulled back. That's what I was looking for the breakout retest. All right, that's kind of how I'm targeting these type of entries. right? Or you have price inside higher time frame, and then this is the style of confirmation, right? I'm still collecting data on stuff like that. It's a decent trade setup, but I'm still collecting. Hopefully I'll have more updates on you over time, okay? And I have no problem. Sometimes I'll just flip my script and I'll start getting short if I believe it's going to be an intuition trade just based off of discretionary trading, okay? So those are the 3 setups, but there are little things that will keep me out of trades. Maybe news space, I want to not get into the trade. Maybe the time of the day, I probably don't want to enter that trade. How much time that it takes price to come back into that zone. Okay, what about the arrival? There's a bunch of little other minor things, but those are the visuals of what I am looking for. I have full videos breaking down each one of those trade setups that I've mentioned, the one time frame, the multiple time frame setup, and I have a full 30-minute, hour-and-a-half long course video going over my trading strategy. I will put that in the description below for you to check out. I appreciate if you guys like the video, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Cheers. Bye-bye.